Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So today we will learn the instrumentation of .NET App Metrics using Prometheus and Grafana. This setup will help you to gain the insights into the application performance by collecting, storing and visualizing the key metrics. We will cover the steps of instrumenting the .NET application. Then we will use Prometheus to collect the metrics and finally Grafana to create a insightful dashboards. So first, let's see the prerequisites. You should have an AWS account with Ubuntu 24.04 EC2 instance up and running. Then you should have .NET SDK, Docker, Prometheus and Grafana installed on your system. So let's move on with the practical. Our first step is set up the .NET application. So first, let's update the package list using sudo apt update command. Now let's install the .NET SDK. Now our SDK is also installed. So for this example, we will use our sample .NET application from the GitHub repository. So let's copy this command and clone the repository in our system. After this, let's navigate to the project directory. Next, open the program.cs file using nano command. Here, we will add some lines in the top section. We will add the using system globalization and using Microsoft ASP.NET in the import section. Sorry. Here, this whole import section. This line imports the necessary namespaces, including those for the OpenTelemetry, ASP.NET Core, Matrix, and Prometheus. Each namespace provides the classes and methods for building the application telemetry and HTTP functionalities. So then next is creating the web application. This will initialize the ASP.NET Core application and the service name is roll dice. Then next is add services to the container. This will add the support for controllers to the application. Then next is create a custom meter for API. This will create a custom meter named roll dice metrics to track the metrics for this application, and the counter matrix called HTTP request total is defined to track the total number of HTTP requests. Then next is configuring the OpenTelemetry for logging. This will configure the OpenTelemetry to handle the logging with the service name roll dice, and .add console exporter sets up console logging to output telemetry data. This will be useful for debugging. Then next is configure OpenTelemetry. This is for tracing and This one is for metrics. The HTTP request tracks the HTTP client interaction and exports the threads data to the console. Then the metrics exposes them to the Prometheus using the add Prometheus exporter method. Then next is add middleware to count the HTTP request. This uses the app use HTTP metrics, app use routing right here to sets up the request routing app and use HTTP metrics, integrates the Prometheus HTTP matrix, which automatically tracks the detail about the incoming HTTP request. Then next is exposing the metrics endpoint. This endpoint apps the endpoints for the controller. Map metrics exposes the metrics endpoint. Then next section is handling the roll dice endpoint. First is handle roll dice method. This handles the request to the roll dice endpoint. And last is roll dice method. This generates the random number between 1 to 6. Then lastly is app run, which is for running the application. So let's save the file. Next, open the my Prometheus app.cs proj file. Here we will update the dependencies of some version of some dependencies. Make sure to keep it to the latest version. So here first is the project definition line. This part specifies that the project uses the Microsoft.NET SDK Web SDK. This is designed to building the web application using the .NET Core. Then next is property section. It has a target framework. This specifies the .NET version, which is 8.0. Then next is enable. Setting this to enables the nullable reference types in C hash. So it ensures that the code handles the null values, reducing the null reference errors. The next is implicit using, which is set to enable. When this is set to enable, this feature will automatically include the common using directives. Then the next section is item group section. This section lists all the external dependencies that the project requires. So let's save the file. Now our next step is set up Docker on Ubuntu. So first, let's install the Docker on our system. After this, let's start the Docker service. Next, enable the Docker service using sudo systemctl enable docker command. Now our next step is set up the Prometheus using Docker. So for that, let's pull the Prometheus image from Docker. So copy this command, paste it. Now after pulling the image, let's go to Prometheus.yaml file using nano command. Open the file, and here in the scrap configs in the target, instead of localhost, we will give our public IP address. So let's copy and paste it in the configuration file. Save the file. Next step is build and run the application. So let's build the application using .NET build command. Now let's run the application using .NET run command. Now this will start the application and it will expose the matrix endpoint for Prometheus to scrap. So let's test the application by accessing the endpoint. So let's copy the public IP address, paste it, colon 8080 matrix. So as you can see, our application started successfully. Now, next you can run the application roll dice. For that, let me just copy this URL instead, and instead of matrix, you should write slash roll dice. As you can see, the application is running successfully and is returned file. So when you refresh it, it will return another output of the roll dice, which is 4. Then next is 6. So as you can see, our application is running successfully. Now next, let's navigate to the project directory. So let me just open a, sorry, let's open a duplicate tab. Now let's navigate to the project directory. Next, let's run the Prometheus container. Copy this command, paste it. So as you can see, our Prometheus container is running successfully. Now once the container running, let's access the Prometheus web interface by visiting the 9090 port. Copy the public IP address and paste it in URL, then colon 9090. So this is the Prometheus interface. Now to check if it's scrapping the matrix or not, from the .NET application, go to status, click on targets. So as you can see, it's scrapping the matrix from my Prometheus app, and you can see its state is up and it's running. You have to make sure that your job name is listed right here and it is marked as a, as you can see here. Now our next step is set up the Grafana using Docker. So let's pull the Grafana image from Docker. Let me just open another tab for it. Clear this up. Yeah. Now let's run the Grafana container in this command. Now our Grafana container is also running. So let's see if Grafana is running or not. For that, let's copy the public IP address and we will use the port 3000 to access the Grafana user interface. The default username and password for Grafana is admin. So here you can change the password or you can just skip the process. So this is the home page of Grafana. Now go to connections, click on data sources. Now we will add a new data source. Select Prometheus as a data source. Now let's copy the URL on which our Prometheus is running. Scroll down with the default setting as it is. Then click on save and test. So as you can see, it has returned the message successfully queried the Prometheus API. Now we can start with the visualization. So in the sidebar, in the right corner, go to the plus icon, click on new dashboard. Here, select the add visualization. Select Prometheus as a data source. Now here, let's select the metric. Let's select the HTTP request received total. This will return the count of HTTP requests that has been processed by the .NET application. Just a minute. All right, speak now. Now click on run query. So let's view it in got visualization. So as you can see, it's showing. So we have hit the roll dice app 4 times. You remember that we refresh the page. So it's showing the HTTP request count 4 for the roll dice application and 1 for our application.NET application. You can save this dashboard by clicking on save and giving the title like request. passive footer. You can give any name you want. Click on save. So here you can access it anytime you want. You can view it or edit it. Today we have successfully instrumented the .NET application to collect the HTTP metrics using the OpenTelemetry. We set up the Prometheus to scrap this matrix and configure the Grafana to visualize them in the dashboard right here. So this setup will help you to monitor your application health and performance effectively. We allow you to identify and resolve the issues quickly. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you.